Is Mr. Anil Kumar Trigunayat. Mr. Trigunayat is a former Indian ambassador to Jordan, Libya and Malta. Ambassador Trigunayat, welcome to DD India News Up. If I may begin by asking you, Ambassador Trigunayat, how would you describe India-Bhutan ties, especially in the last decade?
Well, I think that the India-Bhutan ties are very special and very strategic in character. And this is a very unique country with which we have a very unique partnership. You can imagine that just a week ago we had the new Bhutanese Prime Minister who visited India. Prior to that, in November, we had King of Bhutan who was coming in. Then you see the Prime Minister Modi in his first term, the first country to visit, I think, was Bhutan. And in the second term also, when he did this was Bhutan, which is there. And now, amidst the campaigning that is going on for the elections, he found time to go to Bhutan, which also happens to be most likely his last visit before the next elections take place. So, which clearly shows that the kind of connect that India and Bhutan have. Secondly, Bhutan is also in its 13th national plan, in which India has actively helped and associated with various projects. Even then, now 7 agreements have been signed and many others are signed. There are a lot of activities that have been going on between two countries. Now, Bhutan is also at a cusp at the moment, as you know, that because of the Chinese Connect and the discussions that are going on with China on Doklam and some other things, how to boundary settlements and all. I think in that context also it is important that India and Bhutan continue to remain on the same page and do realize the kind of dangers that our northern neighbor may pose to us, both. And that is very important. So I think apart from the economic connect, people-to-people ties, the historic relationship, since we have a friendship treaty since 1949.
Right.
And that is a very important dimension. And I think that this is the country which receives the largest amount of assistance from India in its nation building efforts. Of course, there is this hospital that we talked about. It's going to be state-of-the-art hospital. And of course, this year we are also celebrating 55 years, I think, of the diplomatic relations. And also Gelfu, this is the smart city that is going to be there. And they are trying to have a smart city. Then there is going to be connectivity, railroad connectivity, corridors. I mean, those are very important because this particular corridor that we are talking about will enable Bhutan, which is a landlocked country, to connect with Assam, with West Bengal, Bhutan, and Thailand, and Myanmar, and Singapore. So I think that this is very important for them also. That is something the landlocked countries face, and they are very much part of our two very important initiatives apart from SAARC and others. One is the BIMSTEC connectivity project, again in that, and the other one is BBIN,
right,
in which Bangladesh, Bhutan, and India are partners, and Nepal. So I think that we have a relationship which is, I would say, fully matured, and a relationship in which both sides tend to care for one another's security interests, other interests, and that's why it's very important that this visit has taken place at this time to assure the Bhutanese of India's continued commitment.
Absolutely. Ambassador Trigunayat, to describe the ties as special, strategic and unique. Ambassador, do stay on. I want to quickly go across to my colleague Amrit Pal Singh, who is standing by and joining us from Bhutan. Amrit, if you can hear me, how is Prime Minister Modi's visit coming along? Who all has he met and how did those talks go?
When he met with Prime Minister Shering Topke and held talks with him, of course, he had a small delegation, which includes the Foreign Secretary. On the other side, there were cabinet ministers. The two sides held talks for about over an hour, and then the Prime Minister of Bhutan hosted working lunch for him. In fact, the Prime Minister of Bhutan was there at the Paro International Airport to receive Prime Minister Modi, and both traveled together by road from Paro to Thimphu, which is about 50 kilometers. There were people lined up along the stretch. The Prime Minister, in fact, got down at various places, interacted with the people. After that, of course, the meeting with the Prime Minister happened, after which, 7 agreements were signed between the two sides. there are essentially, agreements in various fields. So they talked about the whole range of issues from connectivity to infrastructure to the upcoming 13th five-year plan, where they're looking at increased developmental assistance from India. India's been continuously contributing to their five-year plans, and the 12th five-year plan, India contributed about 5,000 crore rupees. So they discussed that and other issues of regional interest, the regional issues of mutual interest came up for discussions. Now those talks have just finished. The Prime Minister will be traveling to this palace where I am. It's called the Tashi Chu Zong, where he'll be received by King of Bhutan, King Wangchuk. There'll be a ceremonial guard of honor given to the Prime Minister, and then he goes in for talks with the king, after which the stage that you see behind me is where both the king of Bhutan and the Prime Minister shall be seated, and the Prime Minister shall be awarded the ceremonial guard of, shall be awarded Bhutan's highest civilian
Right. Amrit, on that note, what can you tell us about the order of the Druk Gyalpo, Bhutan's highest civilian award that will be conferred on Prime Minister Modi?
Okay, now that's the highest civilian award. It has only been conferred upon, three other people, which includes the Queen Grandmother. That means grandmother of the present king, the previous chief abbot of the country, the present chief abbot, and Prime Minister Modi, who's the only foreigner. Now, this award is the highest civilian honor given here, which takes precedence over all other, honors, all other decorations here. It's given for a lifetime service to the people or the nation of Bhutan. Given India's, close friendship with Bhutan, given India's assistance to Bhutan, especially the 500,000 COVID vaccines that were given by India in 2021 when COVID had struck. During COVID, in 2021, the royal government of Bhutan had announced this award for Prime Minister Modi. He hasn't been able to travel to Bhutan since then, so it is his first visit since 2021. So he's receiving that award here today. Ramesh?
And before we let you go, Amrit, a quick question on the development cooperation between India and Bhutan, especially the Gyaltsun Jetsun Pema Mother and Child Hospital in Thimphu, which has been built with India's assistance.
That's right. That's a hospital, a 150-bed state-of-the-art hospital, which is going to be, dealing with both neonatal care and prenatal care, which will have state-of-the-art facilities like the pediatrics department, the gynecology department, etc. Much more beds. There's already a hospital running there, but this is really an expansion. This was the money for this, the funding for this was provided by India under the 12th five-year plan, which comes to an end this year. And so it was constructed during that. Now it will become operational once the Prime Minister inaugurates it tomorrow. Ramesh.
All right. On that note, Amrit Pal Singh in Thimphu, thank you for now. We'll keep coming back to you for more as we go along. And going back to my guest on this broadcast, Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunayat. Ambassador, you describe India-Bhutan ties as special, strategic and unique. In that context, I have to ask you this before we close this conversation. Bhutan and India share a rather contested boundary with China. What kind of conversations do India and Bhutan have when it comes to the boundary question?
Well, as you know that Dokla is a point which is the Bhutanese territory, and the Chinese claim it to be theirs. And what we hear is that the discussions have been going on, and recently there were meetings between the Bhutanese and the Chinese side, and the both sides wanting to settle this. So it is an important point from our own Siliguri corridor and other areas. So strategically, it is also very important. I mean, I'm quite sure that the Bhutanese cannot compromise with their own sovereignty and territorial integrity for the sake of appeasing Chinese. Therefore, India's support to them is extremely important. It was there during the Doklam crisis and will continue to be with them there. And of course, China is a factor in each one of our neighbors and elsewhere. We see that whether it is our extended neighborhood or our immediate neighborhood, China is going to be a factor that we'll have to contend with all the time. And even here, it is not invisible. It is very much visible. It is there. And therefore, I think that the visit of the Prime Minister and the frequent exchanges that are taking place and discussions that are taking place is to somehow, at every step of the way, India is supporting them in maintaining their territorial integrity and so forth.
All right, on that note, Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunayat, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.